A young man, a dark country road, a car in a ditch. These are the last known facts. Brandon Swanson, 19, vanished while on the phone with his parents. 1 minute he was there, talking, trying to find his way home. The next, silence. A single chilling curse word, and then the line went dead. 47 minutes of conversation, a lifeline to his family snapped. What happened on that cold Minnesota night? Where did Brandon Swanson go? It's a parent's worst nightmare, a mystery that has baffled investigators for years. May 14, 2008. A night that started with celebration ended in a desperate search. Brandon was driving home from a party, a simple drive he'd made before, but something went wrong. A wrong turn, a minor accident. He called his parents for help. They could hear him, talk to him, but never found him. The darkness swallowed him whole, leaving only a car and a trail of questions. How can someone just disappear while on the phone with their parents? This is more than a missing person case. It's a void, a hole in a family, a community. The search for Brandon became one of the largest in Minnesota's history. Volunteers, police, search dogs, and aircraft scoured the landscape for any sign, but the land held its secrets tight. The silence from that phone call has stretched into years of agonizing silence for his loved ones. We're going to break down this case. Every piece of evidence, every word spoken on that final call. We'll examine the search, the theories, and the heartbreak. Because somewhere out there, the truth is waiting. The truth about what happened to Brandon Swanson after he said, "Oh, and the line went dead. The night is dark, the case is cold, but the fight for answers is far from over. We will shine a light into the shadows and ask the hard questions. What happened to Brandon Swanson? And who, if anyone, is responsible for his vanishing? Who was Brandon Swanson? Before he became a missing person, he was a son, a student, a friend. 19 years old, born and raised in Marshall, Minnesota. Brandon was known for his kind heart and quiet nature. He loved the outdoors and was comfortable in the rural landscape he called home. He studied wind turbine technology at Minnesota West Community and Technical College. He'd just finished his first year, ready for summer and the next chapter. Brandon was dependable, loving, and close with his parents, Annette and Brian. The fact that he called them immediately after his car went into the ditch speaks volumes about their relationship. He trusted them. He knew they would come for him, no matter what. This was not a young man looking to escape his life. He was trying to get home to it. His studies showed a practical side, a young man planning for a stable future. The night he vanished was supposed to be a celebration of finishing his exams. He was simply a college student driving home. Brandon was not a high-risk individual. No enemies, no criminal ties. The ordinary nature of his life stands in stark contrast to the extraordinary mystery of his disappearance. He was one of us, a familiar face from a small town, a kid with hopes and dreams, and then, in the blink of an eye, he was gone. He left behind a legacy of love and a puzzle of profound loss. Understanding Brandon is crucial to understanding this case. May 13, 2008. Brandon's last day of his first year at college. He celebrated with friends, first in Marshall, then at a get-together in Lind. Witnesses said he was in good spirits, not heavily intoxicated. As the night wound down, Brandon decided to head home to Marshall, a drive of about 30 miles. He left Lind shortly after midnight in his green Chevrolet Lumina. It was a familiar route, but something went wrong. Instead of Highway 68, he ended up on a gravel road and got lost. Sometime before 2 a.m., his car slid off the road and became stuck in a ditch. Stranded, he called his parents at 1:54 a.m. He told them he was okay, not injured, but stuck. He believed he was near Lind and could see lights he thought belonged to the town. His parents drove out, keeping him on the phone, but couldn't find him. They flashed their lights, honked, and searched, but the night was a confusing maze. The timeline blurs here, where a simple drive home turns into a desperate ordeal. The search by Brandon's parents was fraught with confusion. They drove around Lind, flashing lights, honking, listening for his shouts, but nothing. Brandon did the same, flashing his car lights, hoping to be seen. After a frustrating half-hour, Brandon decided to leave his car and walk toward the lights he saw. He described walking along a gravel road, hearing water nearby, and cutting through fields. His father, Brian, stayed on the line, trying to guide him. The phone call lasted 47 minutes. A lifeline in the dark. Brian listened to his son's footsteps, breathing, and descriptions of the landscape. Brandon was determined to walk toward the lights, making the search a moving target. Then suddenly, Brandon shouted a curse word, "Oh, and the line went dead. Brian called back immediately, but it went to voicemail. The connection was severed. The voice of his son was replaced by silence. In that terrifying moment, Brandon vanished. The last sound his father heard was a cry of alarm, a moment that haunts them still. After the call dropped, Brian and Annette Swanson searched frantically around Lind, calling Brandon's phone over and over. As dawn broke, panic set in. They called the police, but the search was hampered by a critical mistake. Everyone believed Brandon was near Lind. Search efforts focused there for hours but found nothing. The breakthrough came from cell phone records. Brandon's phone pinged near the Lincoln-Lyon County line, 25 miles from Lind. Searchers found his car abandoned in a ditch near Taunton. Brandon had been completely mistaken about his location. The lights he saw were likely from another town or an ethanol plant. His car was locked, his glasses left inside. Odd, since he had poor eyesight. With the car found, the search area shifted dramatically. Hundreds of volunteers, law enforcement, K-9 units, and air support combed 122 square miles. Search dogs tracked a scent trail from the car for nearly 3 miles toward the Yellow Medicine River. At the riverbank, the trail went cold. Despite the massive effort, no further evidence of Brandon was ever found. No clothing, wallet, or cell phone. Nothing. The land kept its secrets. The leading theory is that Brandon fell into the Yellow Medicine River. The scent trail led directly to its banks before stopping. The river was high and fast that night. Brandon, disoriented and without his glasses, may not have seen the danger. The sudden curse word could have been his reaction to falling in. The current could have carried his body away, making recovery nearly impossible. But if he drowned, why has his body never been found? Extensive searches turned up nothing. The lack of physical evidence keeps the door open for other possibilities. Did he try to cross what he thought was a small creek, underestimating its danger? The scenario is plausible, but without proof, it remains a theory. The river holds its secrets, and closure remains elusive. While the river theory is favored, other explanations persist. Some suggest Brandon met with foul play. Perhaps his final exclamation was a reaction to another person. But there's no evidence of anyone else in the area, and Brandon had no known enemies. The rural location makes a random encounter unlikely. Another theory: Brandon staged his disappearance to start a new life. But those who knew him dismissed this. He was happy, close to family, and had plans for the future. A final idea: he fell into an old well or abandoned structure. The area is dotted with hazards, but search teams checked many locations. With no body and no crime scene, almost any theory is possible. Each is a desperate attempt to explain the unexplainable. The truth remains out of reach. For Annette and Brian Swanson, the years since Brandon's disappearance have been an unending nightmare. They live in suspended grief, unable to mourn or move on. Their pain became a mission. They fought for change. The initial search was delayed because Brandon was an adult. Their advocacy led to Brandon's Law, requiring immediate investigation for missing adults in Minnesota. Their tragedy created a legacy that helps other families. The community of Marshall was deeply shaken, coming together in the search. Help Find Brandon Swanson signs became a constant reminder. Annual events keep his memory alive and the case open. The case is a somber reminder of how quickly life can change. For the Swansons and their community, the search is a way to honor Brandon. The wound remains, but so does hope. The fight for answers continues. More than a decade later, Brandon Swanson's case remains open and unsolved. The questions from that night still echo. Where did he go? What happened after that final call? The lack of evidence is a wall investigators can't break through. The scent trail at the river is compelling, but not definitive. Advances in technology may one day provide a breakthrough. Until then, the truth remains buried, perhaps in the river, perhaps in someone's memory. Brandon is remembered as a bright, kind young man, and as the center of a chilling mystery. His story is a warning about the dangers of disorientation and the unforgiving wilderness. His parents have never given up hope of bringing him home. Until that day, Brandon Swanson remains lost, a haunting call into the void.